ready to get started?
Yep.
All right. Well, very cool. Well, welcome to Coffee with the Candidates.
Thank you.
So the way we've been kind of doing these is doing a Q&A between myself and the candidate, and then we let you loose with the audience to answer any questions for folks that may come by. First thing that we do is biography, introduction. So Shannon Sloan, running for Parish Council District 3. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah.
Some background about me. I'm from the New Orleans area originally. I grew up in New Orleans, went to Chappelle High School, graduated in 95, moved up here to go to LSU. So I've been up here ever since 95. My sister followed me up soon after that and met a guy from Denham, got married 20 years ago, and I followed her over here. So I've been in Denham a while. I've been in District 3 for 11 years. And it's a great place to raise a family. All my kids are here. I have a daughter, Anna, who's 17. She actually goes to school in Natchitoches at LSMSA, but she went through the schools here. My son Ryan is in 8th grade at the junior high, Denham Springs Junior High, and my son Remy is 8 in 3rd grade at Eastside. All three of my kids went to Eastside, and we love Eastside. It's a great school, so very happy with Eastside. Other than that, I am an artist on the side. I have some art over there in the gallery across the street.
Yeah.
I do that, it's more a hobby. It's for fun. Do it for family and friends. I work in the direct mail industry where I've been for 24 years, printing in direct mail. Now I've moved over to direct mail, and I've been at Franklin Press for 20 years where I work in management. Now, political background, I registered Republican at age 18, so 95. Stayed that way for a long time, got tired of the two-party pendulum swinging and just got fed up and changed my registration to Libertarian in 2009. And I was a founding member of the Libertarian Party of Livingston Parish in 2013, and I've been on the Parish Executive Committee ever since. And I'm also on the State Central Committee, an officer with the Libertarian Party of Louisiana since 2016.
Yeah.
So that's the political background.
Great.
That's about it.
Awesome. Well, you are one of the handful, which you're the only Libertarian running in the Livingston Parish area, right?
The first Libertarian that's ever run for Parish Council at least, but as far as I know, for any office in Livingston.
Oh, awesome. Well, so give us a little bit of background on libertarianism. So your tagline is more freedom, less government.
Yeah.
So tell us just a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, the Libertarian Party is the fastest growing party in the United States. A lot of people are getting tired of the system we have now and boycotting the two-party system, really, trying to do something different. We stand for more freedom and less government is my slogan, but it's a pretty common slogan within the Libertarian Party. That's what we stand for. We stand for people doing more, making their own decisions, being responsible for their decisions and their consequences, as long as they're not hurting anyone else. So someone over there should be able to live and do something that I wouldn't do. And if they asked me if I thought they should do it, I might say no. But that doesn't mean they shouldn't do it or shouldn't have the right to do it, as long as they're not hurting me or someone next to them.
Sure.
So that's the non-aggression principle. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So that's the basis of libertarianism, really. Less government. I'm not an anarchist, and I'm getting accused of that a lot, actually, because libertarianism is a radical idea to a lot of people, and that's one of the big reasons I'm running, because we're trying to educate people. A lot of people, when I knock on doors, don't know what a libertarian is, but a lot of people are interested. They ask questions, and they've learned. So just in that aspect, this campaign has been very successful, because we're trying to spread the word about the party, what we stand for, and let people at least know it exists. Some people want to get involved, but a lot of people are liking a lot of the ideas, and a lot of people are realizing they align more with the platform of the Libertarian Party than the one they're in now. But they still believe that they have to be in one of the two major parties, which is something we're working on. So we've got to start somewhere. We started at 0, and we're working. So we're trying to get more people involved in the party, more Libertarian candidates on the ballot like me. We have 10 around the state this cycle, so we're growing that each time. We're trying to get more liberty in our government, generally. Yeah. So we know we're starting. Got to start somewhere. Nobody thinks we're going to just come in and take over everything, but we're working on it, and it's gradual, and we believe in it, and we believe the party's going to continue to grow.
Right. Well, what better place than here, and what better time than now, right?
Right.
Well, good deal. So one of the first questions I try to ask every candidate is why you're running for the office that you're running for. So why parish council? Why not a legislative seat or one of the other million different elected positions that it's up for grabs. This
Well,
cycle.
most of the other candidates we have in the state are running for Senate and legislature.
Mhm.
And some of them more for educational reasons. They're not expecting to win. They're expecting to educate the people, start to get people open to libertarianism. There's a couple of us working hard, campaigning to win.
Yeah.
If I do something, I do it 110%, no matter what it is. I can't help it. I couldn't not. So, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Just why parish council?
Okay,
why are
parish
you running
council?
that for race
So for me,
specifically?
I wanted to do something that was more attainable, something with a small enough population that I could actually get to, and I could
knock on all the doors.
Right, I
and-
can knock
yeah.
on all the doors, which I've been knocking since March. Gotten direct mail out to everybody, doing a lot of Facebook ads, signs, something manageable that I thought that I could actually reach.
Right.
Now, to have a chance, people have to know who you are, and so to me, parish council was a logical place to start. But other than that, just as part of the Libertarian Party, I started going to the council meetings back June of 2018 or so with a couple others, and I had no intention of running for office at the time. I thought maybe one day I would when the kids are older, but then I found myself, I'm divorced, so I have 3 kids and I have them half the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I found myself with nothing to do, bored to death, and I like to be busy. So I thought that's one reason I started thinking now might be a good time. But when I started going to the council meetings, I realized we need more liberty perspectives in our government.
Sure.
There are a couple on the parish council now that lean more libertarian in their ideas, and not enough to make good progress though. So
Yeah.
I don't feel like the people are being listened to in many cases. Now in some cases they have, and some people are better about it than others on the council. But I have found that there's more of an attitude of like, oh, we have to listen to them, let them talk, than what do you have to say? And I think the people need to be more involved. I've tried to encourage people to go to meetings this year that I've been campaigning,
Yeah.
sending out meeting schedules for meetings around the area. A lot of people just don't know. A lot of people don't care, which is sad. A lot of people
Sure.
they're not happy, but they don't want to do anything about it. They just want to sit at home and complain on the internet, and I don't feel good about just doing that. So that's why I decided to run all of those things. And parish council, because I went to learn, and I learned more about what was going on, and I just saw a need there that
Sure.
I could try to help by getting involved.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good opportunity, and I definitely commend you. You mentioned you share all of the different schedules that for everything going on, and you share everything online. So I definitely commend you for that, because more people showing up. So they're not necessarily an ice cream social, but they're important to attend.
Right. Well, there are a lot of issues that are important to people, like drainage is the big thing this cycle. Last time I think roads were probably number 1 on everybody's list, but people just don't have any idea where to go. What do you do? How do I fix this? But our drainage districts are not proactive. They're
Right.
reactive, and they don't have the funds, they say, to be proactive. So they're going to come if you've got a problem, but you got to say you have a problem.
Right.
So that a lot of people just don't know what to do.
Right.
And that,
Well, that'll kind of segue into specifically on issues of drainage. That is the biggest issue that everyone has on their minds, and for
Yes.
obvious reasons. So I know at the chamber forum the other day, you mentioned that you don't necessarily support forming a unified parish-wide drainage district or funding it until we've kind of reassessed what funds we already have and how we're using them, and to see what efficiencies can be gained. Can you talk a little bit more about your position on that?
Yeah, I know my answer was a little vague. I was a little surprised by that question, actually. I know that drainage is top priority, and I know that the parish needs to do something about it. I don't think that the people, if the people don't want to pay for it, the parish, you got to have money to do it. You got to
Right.
either want to pay for it, or you don't want to pay for it and you're willing to keep it the way it is. I understand the people in the funded districts don't want to spread their money out where it's more populated and they're really paying for other people. I understand that. But I've seen the drainage issues have gotten worse, and I've seen developments get put in, and I'm not anti-development. I am pro-free market, and that's part of it. But the parish council, I think, needs to do more. The parish government in general needs to do more to make sure those developments are not negatively impacting the people around them. And I believe they are, because I've seen some cases where they have.
Sure.
And I don't think that's their intent. I don't think they are okay with that, but I think not enough is done to look at the impact, the true impact. And the impact studies that are done don't go far enough out to really look at the downstream impact. And I'm not an engineer. I know it's just from what I've witnessed over the last year and a half, I know how complicated that is. It's not as easy as just saying that. I know it's a complicated system, and you fix one thing and you cause 10 more problems downstream.
Right.
I get that. I don't know what the solution is, but I know it's important, and I know I'm going to do whatever I can to find out.
Right.
And I know one of the things, because I've seen it, is the developments. We need to make sure that developers are handling the impact better, and somehow we have to find a way to do better about those impact studies.
Sure. So talking about development, you get into ideas about land use and managing that, and of course that goes to zoning, which is one of the big topics
Right.
At the parish council these days. So how do you address zoning issues while maintaining, while respecting, private property rights?
Well, I've kind of been quiet on zoning because I've been watching the back and forth for a while, and I have mixed feelings, very mixed feelings. I don't have an extremely strong opinion to it. I mean, if people want it, I think that personally, I think voluntary zoning would be great, but you're never going to get everyone to agree. But maybe in like the economic corridor, it would be a different story, because the people there are vested in that, and they may want to agree to do
Sure.
it. I don't believe in forcing somebody to use their land a certain way, or not letting them use their land the way they want. If they have the money and they have the land, and they have proven that, and how to really prove, I don't have the total answer, but they have proven that this is not going to flood the neighbor. It's not going to cause a problem here or there. And if it's going to be too much on the roads, that they do something about the road to make it handle the impact. I don't believe in telling someone they can't do something with property they own.
Sure.
And against their will.
Right.
And I do think I live in a subdivision, and I don't really like to. I used to live in rural areas, and you cannot control who does what next to you, and I never expected them to. To me, that doesn't feel like my right. But right now that I'm divorced, we had land before. I don't have time for grass. I decided I'd like to live in a neighborhood that has kids to play with for my son, and it's nice and neat, and people usually cut their grass, so I chose to live in a subdivision. And I think that's voluntary zoning, really.
Yeah.
And I wish we could extend that more to the parish government,
Okay.
or the parish as a whole. I
Sure.
don't know. I really have mixed feelings on it.
Okay.
It's more about forcing people to do something that they don't want,
Right.
as opposed to having their buy-in.
Right. Well, let's talk about my favorite issue, which is small business issues. On your website, the first thing under your My Pledge section is to support small businesses. How, on Parish Council, can you do that? How would you do that?
Well, I don't believe in occupational licenses, and that doesn't mean I think you can go to a doctor and he just has no skill and you just have to trust him. I think there are other ways, other certification processes to handle critical things like that. But for things like cutting hair, being a florist, I think that's something I think the free market handles well, because people are going to tell people if you don't do a good job. Or you don't have to go get your hair cut by a stranger on the street. You can ask them where they went to school. How did you do? I mean, there's more ways to handle it than having to get the government's permission to do a job.
Sure.
And we talked about this earlier, so I know you might feel a little differently, but I believe there's a lot of regulation, red tape, and cost associated with doing business, especially for small business owners.
Sure.
So I really think it's an issue. I think that people should be free to sell a product or service that the market is willing to buy, and really just less government regulation and control over what they can and can't do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Believe me, I fill out the paperwork every month
Yeah.
for a ton of different stuff. So, yeah, anything that streamlines and things like that is
Right.
definitely something worth considering and talking about, in my opinion, anyway. So let's go on to behind drainage. Another sort of big thing lumbering over the parish council right now is the master plan. I don't even really need to elaborate. So just tell us how do you feel about the master
Well,
plan?
how I feel, mostly my most strong emotion about the master plan is how in the world did we spend $450,000, whether it was through a grant, which is still taxpayer money, it doesn't matter. That's a lot of money spent on something and not use it.
Sure.
To me, I can't comprehend that. But now, as far as whether I agree with adopting the master plan now as is, I don't know that I do.
Sure.
But I really have mixed feelings on that. It's similar to zoning, and I think zoning is the biggest part of it, and I think that's why it's being pushed. And that's that's the first thing most people that are pushing it want to tackle. Now, I understand the drainage. We need a drainage plan. I think drainage is number one.
Right.
I don't think you have to have zoning to have the drainage plan. Yeah, I really have mixed feelings about the master plan.
Yeah.
I don't think, like most people, I don't think it's perfect the way it is. But are we going to spend half that much money again to update it? And are we going to have to do that every 5 or 10 years? It's just, the cost of it is crazy to me. So,
yeah, it's a big thing to tackle, and it's a big problem from a lot of different angles. So it's complicated for sure.
Yeah, very complicated.
Well, that is that's just about it for my notes that I had tonight. But the last question that I have for everybody is always about books. We're in the middle of a bookstore, so we have to talk about books a little bit. So tell us about 2 different books that have most influenced your life, one fiction and one nonfiction.
I knew you were going to ask because I've watched all your other videos. But I really don't read much fiction. It's really
Sure.
hard. I couldn't come. I mean, I love Nicholas Sparks, and I've read all his books, and Karen White. There's a lot of things I read for fun, but nothing that I could say has impacted my life really. But nonfiction is a whole different story. Now, I really like nonfiction because when I read, I get tired. So if I read, it's because I want to learn something, and that's interesting to me. Reading for fun, I really don't do it a lot.
Right.
But as far as nonfiction, and there's a lot of books, but 2 that stand out to me. One is The 5 Love Languages.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not in a relationship at this time, but I find that book very valuable, not just for couples relationships or marriages, but in every relationship. It can to help to understand what motivates other people, what makes them feel appreciated.
Oh, yeah.
That can help in relationships with your kids, your friends, family, co-workers. I think that book is very valuable. It helps give you some insight into other people.
Absolutely.
Working with people.
What are your love languages? Mine are words of praise and physical touch.
Time. Quality time.
Quality time? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And you had a second one?
Yeah. The other one is The Goal by Goldratt.
Oh, okay.
You know that one? My boss made me read it, and I was glad he did because I work in manufacturing.
Yeah.
And the book is basically about increasing efficiency and about handling bottlenecks. So if you have, to make a product, if you have 10 steps, and the first 9 you've gotten as efficient as you possibly can. All the waste is out, all the wasted time, everything's going perfectly. The 10th thing, something's not right. It's not as efficient as it could be. You have more material waste. Something's not right. The whole process of making that item is only as good as that slowest point. So it doesn't matter how efficient you are on the front end.
Right.
So it's about attacking bottlenecks so that you can make the whole process more efficient.
Yeah.
And I really think that's something the government could learn from also, because there's a lot of room, I'm sure, for increased efficiency in the way we spend money and the processes in the government.
Sounds like we might be able to glean some insights for our master drainage plan from that.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, well, I thank you so much for coming out and talking
Thank
to
you.
us. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll turn you loose so that we can chat off camera.
Okay.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.